Her smartphone remained on the property. This isn't mere guesswork. We aren't discussing baseless internet rumors scattered across social media platforms. It remains an absolute proven certainty regarding missing 84-year-old former college official Nancy Guthrie, who vanished mysteriously from her residence located at 5820 North Camino Escalante. This property sits within the Catalina Foothills above Tucson, Arizona, where she vanished before authorities showed up the afternoon of February 1st, 2026. Authorities discovered her cellular device indoors. All her required prescriptions remained untouched. Her personal billfold also stayed entirely unmoved. All physical evidence strongly suggesting she never departed willingly, or at least demonstrating she clearly planned on returning quickly if she did step outside, remained sitting completely untouched, exactly where nobody expected to see it. This residence had silently consumed its occupant while providing absolutely zero clues. Yet the public continues making a massive mistake whenever discussing this specific mobile device. Most folks view the handset as merely inactive hardware, perhaps an item carelessly dropped during a panic, a completely unintentional breadcrumb, or merely something lingering behind after she suddenly vanished. In reality, this specific piece of technology operates essentially as an active recording machine, functioning exactly as designed since its assembly syncing flawlessly with all household networks and any personal gadgets worn by Nancy Guthrie. This electronic observer actively performed its duties without pausing during the whole evening, constantly archiving and documenting data, marking exact times for all networks joined or lost. It tracked each program launched, all geographical coordinates established, and whatever details transmitted internally nearby, or as a direct result of its presence. This handset remained fully operational as detectives approached on February 1st. Power flowed normally. The screen showed an active link to her local wireless internet. The unit maintained a steady link, or at least held one until an exact second the previous evening, communicating with equipment attached firmly to Nancy Guthrie's torso. Federal agents took possession of this hardware immediately. Therefore, whenever local residents repeatedly return to pondering this exact issue, which happens constantly, since it represents the ultimate mystery, sitting right at the core, folks shouldn't ask if this hardware holds clues regarding Nancy Guthrie's fate. That answer is basically a guaranteed yes. We must instead ask how these digital footprints appear after specialized experts meticulously deconstruct every single file, discovering what secrets the darkness holds, especially since federal analysts undoubtedly utilize highly classified software extraction methods completely unknown to the everyday general public. This evening, our investigative team will explore precisely which exact details this handset captured, including its various network links, the background files created entirely autonomously, without human input, and the exact chronological sequence it successfully rebuilds, starting from within those walls. We will eventually conclude our deep dive at the exact timestamp anchoring this entire mystery. 2:28 in the morning. Prior to diving deep, here a brief disclaimer. Several details discussed this evening come directly from officially identified individuals. Whenever our presentation relies upon professional interpretations or rational conclusions derived through existing clues, we absolutely promise to state this plainly while displaying visual disclaimers. Our team lacks police credentials. We certainly aren't sworn officers. Our coverage of this tragedy exists purely because finding Nancy Guthrie remains an absolute necessity. Let's properly establish our understanding regarding the digital equipment scattered throughout Nancy Guthrie's residence, since background details are crucial, and the reality proves far more complex than mainstream media suggests. Begin by examining her front entry lens. Federal agents verified this hardware while various news stations like NBC, alongside CBS, corroborated the brand. The homeowner utilized a Google Nest configuration. For anyone lacking technical expertise regarding how this operates functionally, you should understand that Google Nest electronics never just capture video for isolated internal storage. These gadgets stream directly toward external web servers. Such software operates right on a mobile handset. Whenever the exterior lens senses movement powers on or registers an arriving guest pushing the button, all corresponding actions instantly hit the software. They receive exact timestamps, uploading safely into Google's massive server networks, ensuring survival even if intruders completely destroy the physical hardware. Assuming her mobile device synced perfectly alongside that Google Nest entryway camera, which remains the highly expected setup for anyone living entirely alone with a solitary primary handset. Consequently, her cellular device securely holds extensive records detailing all exterior movements, startup sequences, front button presses, plus any specific notifications triggered around the estate, spanning the entire evening of January 31st, straight into the pre-dawn darkness of February 1st. Consider the profound practical implications of this reality. Imagine the exact raw materials these digital specialists carefully review upon extracting those hidden files. They aren't simply watching traditional visual media clips that might potentially miss the crucial action due to poor camera framing. Analysts examine a rigid electronic ledger, a flawless computerized registry featuring a continuous sequence of activities documented instantly by automated monitors, fundamentally lacking personal biases, and completely incapable of any form of deception. However, this only covers the front entry since a Google Nest network never functions entirely alone. The setup belongs to an expansive automated household environment, communicating via interconnected software platforms. This gear relies upon her residential wireless internet. Everything hinges heavily on her smartphone's current link. Whenever a cellular device loses power, the Nest infrastructure notices immediately. Once software synchronization halts, tracking algorithms permanently document this interruption. Any shifts regarding wireless conditions like unfamiliar hardware, joining familiar equipment, vanishing, or sudden transmission interference get permanently etched into the master operational database. The entire building maintained an uninterrupted digital dialogue with Nancy Guthrie's handset during the darkness. Her mobile served as the central brain. All intelligent appliances acted as peripheral nerves, continuously feeding raw information backward. These foundational technical concepts matter immensely, requiring our focused and extended attention today, because most citizen sleuths analyzing cellular clues obsess entirely over the most glaring, easily visible, superficial elements. Dialed numbers, dispatched messages, or intentionally launched programs. Those visible components certainly carry weight, yet seasoned detectives usually rely upon silent background transmissions, specifically those autonomous files created routinely during standard hardware usage to effectively construct an absolutely unbreakable chronological timeline. All contemporary mobile devices preserve incredibly thorough hidden registries. Standard user menus simply cannot display a large portion of these hidden files. Accessing such deep metrics demands highly sophisticated investigative software, yet this powerful technology readily exists. Federal authorities run 17 dedicated technological analysis centers nationwide, utilizing these advanced systems constantly to uncover digital secrets vastly more insightful than any text message intentionally drafted by the actual human user. Geographic tracking remains the most commonly recognized element. A majority of pocket computers map their exact journeys utilizing satellites' antenna tower, pinging, and wireless internet proximity metrics. Even if mapping applications aren't functioning visibly on screen, silent geographical pulses continue transmitting and storing themselves at extremely consistent frequencies. This gadget remembers its precise physical coordinates at exact moments. Crucially, for our current mystery, this hardware recognizes exactly when it departed a familiar stationary position and marks that sudden shift. Program usage histories plunge way deeper than average citizens comprehend. Each independent software package downloaded onto the hardware crafts a unique operational diary. Every digital breath a device takes is tracked, capturing exact timestamps, background, software activity, and precisely what information traveled across networks. Should a smart camera detect movement at 1:47 a.m. and push an alert that nobody bothered checking, the system remembers. The exact moment a daily pill notification chimes, whether someone swipes it away or ignores it, completely gets permanently archived. When programs that usually stay dormant overnight mysteriously launch right at 2 a.m., investigators can easily spot that glaring red flag. Signal histories map out the entire connectivity, journey pinpointing exactly when a device dropped off. Routers switched over to mobile networks, hit dead zones, or eventually reestablished communication. Experts frequently match these digital footprints against physical carrier antennas, allowing them to track movement out of a house and along a route. Detectives rely heavily on mobile carrier tracking during criminal cases, largely because devices constantly ping nearby masts in the background without needing any active user interaction at all. Display wake cycles and locking patterns often provide the most straightforward, yet revealing clues during an entire digital forensic sweep. Handsets actively document each instance. The display lights up or goes dark, creating a meticulous timeline of genuine human interaction. Whenever Nancy Guthrie woke her mobile at 1:15 a.m., the hardware documented it just as it noted total silence following 10:30 p.m. Detectives view those missing interactions as hard evidence, treating them with the same weight as active usage. Eventually, the device simply sat abandoned by its owner. Details regarding incoming messages and outgoing dials serve as another distinct puzzle piece. While current smartphone operating systems typically scramble the actual text bodies, the hidden structural framework still reveals the exact contacts involved, timestamp durations, and the precise directional flow of those communications. Authorities can easily uncover those details buried deep within the physical handset memory or by obtaining legal warrants for telecom company OEC databases. Background systems silently compiled this wealth of telemetry overnight between January 31st and the very early hours of February 1st, 2026. Federal agents ultimately seized the mobile device, immediately cloned its drive, and spent the next 73 days meticulously picking apart every single byte. This brings us to the chilling focal point that armchair detectives following the Nancy Guthrie mystery have intensely debated since the search began. It is a critical factor elevating a standard abduction scenario into a complex medical puzzle. Rarely seen in typical crime scenes, officials verified she wore an artificial heart implant. Her sophisticated implanted module utilizes modern wireless technology, seamlessly maintaining a constant short-range link with a dedicated health program on her smartphone, matching the standard configuration for contemporary cardiac units. The hardware rigorously tracks vital cardiovascular metrics, instantaneously capturing pulse speeds alongside sudden arrhythmias before feeding that telemetry straight to the phone's software, so attending physicians can safely review everything from afar. This digital handshake never rests, and it certainly requires absolutely no manual user prompts to function. She never needed to actively launch the software or push buttons. The synchronization ran perpetually as a silent, self-sustaining process. Both the chest implant and the mobile handset maintain an ongoing dialogue, leaving a permanent paper trail inside the phone memory and the external server history. Local authorities verified the 2:28 a.m. marker, but we must clarify exactly what the sheriff reported, as accuracy is paramount. The health software registered a definitive signal drop. Right then. Sometime around 2:28 a.m. during that dark window, bridging January 31st and February 1st, 2026, the short-range tether linking her cardiac implant to the handset suddenly severed. The medical module abruptly stopped talking to the smartphone. It had reliably pinged all evening, creating a permanent error entry that got safely stored directly onto the mobile hardware. Simultaneously, the internal chest unit documented the exact same outage, meaning investigators could retrieve the failure timestamp from either side. Conversely, we must thoroughly acknowledge the glaring gaps in the currently available media coverage. Nobody outside of official law enforcement knows what her specific vital signs actually look like, approaching 2:28 a.m. The public remains completely blind regarding whether those medical readouts reveal any clues about her bodily condition then. No one knows if the failure happened because she was physically dragged out of range. Perhaps the handset simply died from a drained battery, a jammer blocked the radio waves, or an entirely different unseen variable caused the sudden communication blackout. Such crucial mysteries stay locked behind police tape, far away from any civilian oversight. The only undeniable proven fact is the hard stop logged at 2:28 a.m. permanently etched into the smartphone memory. Since the internal monitor tirelessly fed crucial updates to the software all evening, detectives almost certainly possess a comprehensive cardiovascular history detailing the exact hours and minutes leading up to the final 2:28 a.m. drop. Former federal investigator Jennifer Coffin-Daffer repeatedly told prominent journalists covering this specific disappearance that successfully solving such complex puzzles requires thoroughly dissecting absolutely every digital footprint, background sync event, and electronic handshake available. She is not just guessing. This represents a formal expert evaluation from a veteran who spent her career building federal prosecutions. Lead forensic specialist Cece Moore, widely recognized for her frequent analytical appearances on major broadcast networks discussing this exact mystery, frequently highlights the sheer necessity of blending physical lab results with digital tracking data, noting that any genetic breakthroughs, once properly untangled, should finally unmask whoever committed this crime. As a highly respected authority in modern criminology, she firmly believes that merging bodily clues with electronic timestamps provides the ultimate key to cracking these seemingly impossible locked-room mysteries. The critical convergence exactly at 2:28 a.m. forms the beating heart of this investigation. Grasping how detectives rebuild the timeline means recognizing the intricate dance between various telemetry streams. Detectives do not simply pull a single file to find their culprit, they meticulously stack evidence examining the tragedy through 4 completely separate, but equally important investigative lenses. Every individual tier noticeably sharpens the overall image, starting directly with the residential interior. Smart camera triggers exact motion times, local router histories, hidden background software actions, and even basic display wake-ups. Combining these digital breadcrumbs allows law enforcement to definitively track if the victim walked around her property during key hours of the evening. They can monitor if she actively touched her device, or if residential security sensors simply reacted to shifting shadows and temperature fluctuations, alongside noting any bizarre traffic spikes originating from the local router she utilized. Forget the inside layer 2 rips into the perimeter, right where network signals collide violently with the smart camera logs. Police records lock in a crucial detail: someone killed that doorbell feed at exactly 1:47 in the morning. By 2:12 a.m., the security system picked up a shadowy figure out front, and just 16 minutes later, at 2:28 a.m., the vital Bluetooth connection to the heart monitor vanished entirely. Nobody's guessing here because the Puma County Sheriff's Department dropped these exact timestamps directly into the public record. 3 distinct systems caught 3 separate triggers within 41 minutes, proving a coordinated incident was actively unfolding rather than just some random fluke. Layer 3 strips back the mobile device's entire nocturnal footprint, pinging towers, jumping wireless networks, and making or breaking local device connections. All those digital breadcrumbs paint an unbroken picture of the device either sitting perfectly still or physically traveling, proving exactly if it stayed locked to the house signal or if a sudden blackout implies either the router died or the hardware was actively carried away. That network footprint answers one massive question: when, if ever, did the hardware actually move? Layer 4 tackles the heart monitor link, introducing a biological element that blows standard device autopsies completely away. That medical implant wasn't just passively listening. It pushed active heart rhythms, pulse rates, and crucial anomaly warnings straight back into the mobile hardware. A dedicated application caught every beat, queuing everything up perfectly before firing it off to an external health server. Forget simple digital pairings, because this feed represented a living, breathing human being in absolute real time. Stack those 4 tracking metrics together, align them perfectly with the 2:28 a.m. drop verified by authorities, and the guesswork completely vanishes. Detectives are actively rebuilding a flawless chronological timeline, offering an unshakable master narrative that easily beats foggy eyewitness accounts, outpaces human memory, and absolutely destroys any fabricated alibis. Computers never lie, hesitate, or backtrack to cover their tracks. When things get complicated, they just capture the truth, and that truth remains rock solid. It is an absolute fact that federal agents locked down 5820 North Camino Escalante back on February 1st, 2026. Breaking down their exact federal protocol matters tremendously right now, because those specific methods dictate the exact arsenal of evidence sitting in their vaults today. Bureau technicians don't just snap photos and bag physical clues, they completely strip the location of absolutely any piece of hardware boasting a microchip. Mobiles, computer tablets, personal laptops, smart automation hubs, local routers, and massive external drives all get seized, acting as crucial connecting nodes for the unified digital web running throughout the property. Each isolated gadget holds vital clues that, once merged inside a pristine facility, recreate the physical environment far better than simply pacing through an empty room. The Bureau specifically engineered their cyber extraction divisions to completely outclass practically anyone else on Earth. 17 specialized cyber labs scattered nationwide deploy elite software, top-tier brainpower, and security access levels that regular police departments can only dream about. Programs like Cellbrite Axiom and Gray Key ruthlessly crack open electronics, bypassing heavy defensive encryption that tech companies deliberately installed to block intruders. Agents legally gut these devices, pulling back wiped documents, breaking through security passwords, and pasting shattered operational logs back into cohesive timelines. Properly tearing down just one contemporary handset requires grueling weeks, guaranteeing the resulting paper trail is absolutely bulletproof for a criminal trial. Confiscated on February 1st, we just hit day 73, but that long wait absolutely doesn't mean the laboratory tests somehow stalled out. It actually proves they are meticulously tracking every move, securing the chain of custody, and guaranteeing every digital revelation can withstand a brutal cross-examination in court. Nobody in mainstream media has hugged the front lines of this massive manhunt tighter than News Nation's own Brian Enton. Tracking the case from day 60 to 73, his reporting perfectly mirrors the authorities' mindset: cold, calculated, and refusing to make a fatal, hasty error. Any bite of intelligence ripped out of that hardware must be utterly unassailable. Each analytical leap requires massive paperwork, making this seemingly slow progression a mark of excellence, rather than a symptom of incompetence. Whatever secrets the Bureau finally carved out of that memory chip remains tightly sealed, totally hidden away from the general public. We titled this breakdown around cracking device logs simply because that exact decryption war is currently waging fiercely behind closed doors. Elite federal hackers are currently gutting the most crucial electronic asset, leveraging the full might of the world's heaviest investigative hammer. That absolutely doesn't mean those classified breakthroughs are hitting the news cycle. They rightfully stay buried during active field operations, and we are keeping that operational boundary crystal clear. Tonight, our entire mission revolves around reverse engineering that device's internal data architecture, utilizing verified truths about its network connections from that fateful evening, ultimately giving you a front row seat to the exact digital blueprint these federal detectives are actively analyzing right now. Looking at the cyber footprint is practically useless if we ignore those extortion letters, as their sudden appearance completely blew up the legal strategy surrounding every clue, especially the handset. Several major publications flagged terrifying extortion demands right after NY vanished without a single trace. TMZ'd and 2 Tucson stations, including local CBS affiliate Cole, independently confirmed receiving the threats. Authorities openly admitted tracking the letters, immediately kicking all correspondence straight to task force agents partnering heavily with the Bureau. Officials stated they tracked a massive shakedown threat bouncing from regional press to national syndicates, treating the scary development as a top priority lead. Federal experts couldn't instantly validate the documents, especially after busting some guy in California who fired off a completely fake demand just for kicks. Relatives eventually broke their silence, dismissing the bulk of the letters as sick pranks, while insisting two specific demands they engaged with were completely legitimate. Laying all that groundwork out, if genuine extortion threats actually tie back to the crime scene, the task force's entire tactical approach flips upside down. Federal mandates automatically drag the Bureau into any abduction scenario, making their rapid deployment on February 1st perfectly aligned with standard government protocols. Federal agents didn't just casually wander into this investigation late. They hit the ground running the exact second the crime scene opened, and that immediate start changes absolutely everything. Pulling off an extortion plot takes intense stalking. Mapping the victim's house, tracking daily schedules, and spotting weak points, you simply do not execute that kind of flawless setup overnight. Criminals heavily study and orchestrate these plots. Today, organizing anything this precise practically guarantees leaving massive electronic footprints behind. Web browsers call logs and accomplices constantly messaging each other across completely different apps. Former murder investigator Kurt Dabb often breaks down exactly how extortionists build their hidden networks. Abductors inevitably have to contact loved ones to negotiate, but each time they reach out, they hand cops a massive opportunity to finally track them down. Within this setup, a mobile device isn't merely a clue, it acts as the actual foundation, serving as a direct hotline. The bad guy's either tapped into or closely monitored. Former federal investigator Jennifer Coffender has shared massive insights with Newsweek regarding this unfolding mystery. She explained a brilliant strategy where cops essentially poke the bear. They purposely trigger banking alerts or drop clues just to make the guilty suspects panic and expose their location. Local deputies publicly dropped the crucial 2:28 morning medical device failure. Releasing that incredibly targeted, undeniable detail served as a massive warning that detectives possessed an exact invasion timeline. Leaking that detail was completely intentional. Confidential files don't just magically leak, meaning officials purposely dropped this clue to play a high-stakes psychological game rather than just keeping the community updated. Virtual timelines never stand alone. They combine with tangible clues and eyewitness accounts, blending perfectly with mobile activity to paint an incredibly rich, undeniable portrait of what truly went down. Two of her closest neighbors, Laura Gargano, alongside Aldine Meister, shared incredibly compelling stories with reporters that flawlessly matched the exact timeline of when things went terribly wrong. Everything those witnesses spotted, listened to, or found suspicious outside the house that night injects raw, breathing context that cold, hard computer logs simply can never capture on their own. Former federal agent Maureen O'Connell heavily focused on tracking tangible clues. Here broke down the massive significance of some distinct wheel tracks discovered right near the crime scene. Aerial cameras also swept the nearby landscape, grabbing crucial geographical details for detectives to heavily scrutinize. Former tactical leader Bob Krieger thoroughly evaluated the harsh, sandy landscape surrounding the estate, highlighting the secret entryways and massive geographical hurdles out there. He showed exactly how a suspect might easily creep in and escape without ever touching the main streets. All the aerial video and tangible clues found outside must be closely compared with whatever the smart camera's activity tracker actually caught happening around the exact same time. Those details don't clash at all. They actually fit together perfectly, especially knowing the smart lens officially went dark at 1:47, then by 2:12 in the morning. A mysterious figure triggered the security system out front right before the wireless connection to her heart implant completely vanished at exactly 2:20. Imagine a local spotting someone prowling around right then, while the mobile device's internet logs simultaneously show it jumping to a completely different router. Multiple unconnected clues pointing toward one specific hour is exactly how detectives build an airtight case. One solitary piece of the puzzle rarely secures a solid conviction. However, weaving several separate facts together builds an impenetrable wall that defense lawyers simply cannot tear down. Bringing expert C.C. Moore onto the Nancy Guthrie mystery demands huge respect, mostly since mainstream news totally fails to grasp the real reason she got recruited for this hunt. Operating as Parabon Nanolabs' top DNA historian, she completely dominates the entire nation when it comes to breaking cold cases with family tree science. She literally hunts down nameless phantoms regularly, unmasking dangerous fugitives by linking crime scene biology directly to massive ancestral websites. An expert of her caliber never just randomly joins a disappearance hunt without having massive leverage. She confidently went on Brian Enton's News Nation broadcast to drop a major bombshell about them actually securing physical samples from the perpetrator. Detectives bagged raw genetic material completely unrelated to Nancy or her inner circle, and the lab guys are aggressively testing it right now. She keeps hammering home one point: if scientists can pull a clean biological profile from that messy crime scene smudge, ancestral tracking will absolutely expose the attacker. She strongly emphasizes the torch the attacker deliberately clamped between his teeth while creeping up to the house. I constantly mention that specific illuminating tool he clearly gripped with his bare teeth, clamping down like that absolutely guarantees leaving massive amounts of spit behind. Escaping without drooling on it seems totally impossible. She highlighted how that wet contact transforms the device into an absolute goldmine for criminal profiling. She seriously pushed cops to retest that item using the latest extraction software. Sadly, officials haven't openly admitted if they actually found anything useful yet. Still, hitting that scientific breakthrough remains the ultimate target, pushing her brilliant laboratory squad forward. Smashing ancestral science together with hardcore cyber tracking creates an absolutely mind-blowing investigative powerhouse that we almost never witness in these tragic situations. Yet it's all actively unfolding before our eyes. Throughout this video series, I've deeply covered the fierce backlash targeting Sheriff Chris Nanos and his squad over their incredibly messy handling of the manhunt. We won't rehash that old drama today. However, dissecting exactly which secrets the cops leaked versus what they hid perfectly ties into our entire cyber clues debate. The precinct officially verified that 228 morning medical implant failure detectives made a highly calculated move by dropping that exact cyber clue into the headlines. Based on the current news cycle, that single log minute stands as their most undeniably accurate clue so far. Naturally, leaking it immediately sparks one massive glaring question. Why give away that exact detail? Badges simply do not leak. Classify discoveries without a solid plan. Whenever a secret detail hits the mainstream media during a manhunt, you better believe a detective carefully plotted that move for a genius reason. That 228 morning cutoff feels way too incredibly sharp and tactically valuable for a rookie spokesperson to just accidentally blurt out. A solid theory suggests they shared it simply because the implant's cloud tracker could easily back up the timeline anyway. Boom, an independent verification point drops, letting the public verify details while completely protecting the core integrity of the overarching criminal probe. By dropping clues confirmed elsewhere, detectives managed to keep their most vital secrets entirely hidden. Essentially, the authorities just flashed a single playing piece everyone could already see anyway. Alternatively, this strategy perfectly aligns with Jennifer Coffin Daffer's famous tactic of shaking up suspects. Dropping the exact 2:28 a.m. timestamp publicly sends a massive, terrifying message directly to whoever visited that house. Detectives pinpointed the exact fraction of a second that medical device failed. Consequently, the perpetrator who dragged Nancy out of signal bounds or killed her now realizes the police hold that exact timeline. Meanwhile, the absolute silence regarding exterior camera footage, mobile application logs, or cellular network pings is absolutely a calculated, deliberate move by officials. Smart detectives always bury their golden leads. Whatever the local police refuse to mention is probably their ultimate trump card right now. Every single topic we discussed tonight builds up to this climax, analyzing all 4 mobile security levels, the heart monitor, link camera networks, federal lab procedures, and brilliant expert breakdowns. Factor in the psychological warfare of those extortion letters alongside the merging of real-world and cyber clues. Everything pinpoints a singular, terrifying instant. 2:28 a.m. during the dead of night, shifting January 31st to February 1st, 2026. We are going to brutally dissect that exact time frame using the technological footprints left behind without mincing any words. The upcoming breakdown relies entirely on logical deductions built over verified technological parameters and the chilling reality of that evening. While not an official police declaration, this detailed scenario represents the inescapable truth painted by every available digital breadcrumb. Visual tags will guide you, but leading up to 2:28 a.m., that mobile device rested undisturbed somewhere indoors. The display either glowed from active scrolling or remained completely pitch black, proving nobody had touched the gadget recently. The residential router hummed along flawlessly while the smart porch camera stood guard, recording every single shadowy movement outside. Her internal chest implant stayed securely paired wirelessly, constantly beaming vital pulse metrics straight into the hidden mobile application. Suppose the display went dark long before 2:28 a.m. If the final manual swipe happened around 10 or 11 p.m., detectives suddenly gain a massive foundational clue. That proves the handset laid completely abandoned for a long stretch, leading up to the catastrophic signal drop. The victim definitely was not gripping her mobile or browsing apps right before the clock hit 2:28 a.m. The device sat frozen completely idle, just biding its time, while the medical implant continuously pinged it with heartbeat data. Their digital tether remained flawless until 2:28 a.m., when the wireless bridge abruptly vanished, forcing us to ask what triggered the severance. Everyday wireless pairings stretch roughly 30 feet maximum when absolutely zero obstacles stand in the way. However, factoring in physical barriers and household static, that bubble shrinks drastically to just 15 to 20 feet indoors. Should the victim have been aggressively dragged, forced to march out at gunpoint against her will? Or even walked outside entirely alone? Breaching that rough 30 feet boundary from her resting handset would instantly sever the medical implant's wireless transmission. The handset stamps an error code, the chest monitor logs a drop signal, and both internal clocks scream 2:28 a.m. Conversely, if a killer grabbed her device and deliberately killed the power before abducting her, the invisible tether would snap the exact microsecond the screen faded to black. System files capture the manual shutdown, while the medical gadget marks the failure. Furthermore, power diagnostics will clearly prove whether the battery died naturally or if a suspect maliciously killed a fully charged gadget, dramatically changing the entire criminal narrative. Forget baseless speculation. These exact hardware constraints form the absolute rigid foundation of the current police manhunt. Thankfully, deep cyber analysis of the handset wipes out several false theories, violently sharpening the focus onto the gruesome reality. This dynamic makes the 2:28 a.m. timestamp the absolute beating heart of the manhunt. The vital implant never synced back up post 2:28 a.m. It failed at 3 a.m., stayed dead at 4 a.m., and remained silent long after dawn when locals sensed danger. Even when cops breached the residence later on February 1st, they discovered the mobile completely active, hooked to the local router, waiting in vain. Whatever ripped the victim from her gadget at 2:28 a.m. destroyed their bond for eternity. She never stepped inside that 30-foot radius again, forever shattering the digital lifeline protecting her earlier. The invisible thread linking her pulsing chest to the stationary household gadget got butchered at 2:28 a.m., staying dead forever, making it much more than a mere clock reading. It forms a brutal frontier, splitting the era she safely rested within 30 feet of her screen, and the dark void where the medical monitor and handset went eternally deaf to each other. A permanent shift in reality stretching past dawn until detectives stormed the scene. Now the Federal Bureau locks down the physical device alongside the harvested cardiac rhythm logs. Authorities possess the doorbell footage, the mobile carrier network pings, and the entire wireless router traffic archive. Agents possess every byte of that ghost trail, meaning the 2:28 a.m. blackout holds zero secrets. That moment serves as ground zero. Every single blood drop witness statement or scraped hard drive gets meticulously measured against that exact frozen second. Let me shoot straight regarding the future of this manhunt and the panicked locals tracking every tiny update. Since February 1st, the cyber clues surrounding the victim are absolutely not some neglected side quest, nor are they merely a forgotten loose end that lazy detectives casually forgot to follow up on. Instead, it forms the technological spine of a massive federal operation active for 73 days, fueled by government muscle DNA tracking and mountains of physical clues processed with ruthless precision, proving this case is moving at lightning speed. Just because things look dead quiet doesn't mean the trail is cold. Federal authorities purposely keep their most damning proof completely under wraps until the trap finally snaps shut. Radio silence actually equals calculated tactics rather than total inaction, especially since Nancy Guthrie vanished into thin air exactly 73 days ago, leaving an 84-year-old pacemaker patient entirely off the grid. Crucial daily prescriptions stayed completely behind, alongside her personal mobile device, and basically everything else an 84-year-old heart patient would naturally pack if actually walking away willingly, meaning each passing sunrise just drags her terrified relatives through yet another brutal 24 hours trapped in complete and agonizing darkness. Each passing morning grants whoever caused that February 1st nightmare, at exactly 2:28 a.m., another free pass from public scrutiny, yet those digital footprints remain absolutely permanent. Cyber clues never rot away, meaning that 2:28 a.m. morning marker remains exactly as sharp and extractable right now as the precise moment detectives bag the cellular device, proving the trail exists and agents are fiercely hunting. Should anyone possess the slightest detail regarding Nancy Guthrie vanishing, even seemingly worthless or completely random whispers, please immediately reach out to the Pima County Sheriff Department to share your insight. Route clues to Tucson federal agents or stay hidden via tips.fbi.gov because her frantic family absolutely needs her safely home. We refuse to look away, and neither does this dedicated audience. So if you catch our ongoing coverage without officially joining the channel yet, please hit subscribe immediately. Clicking requires barely 2 seconds while massively boosting our algorithm reach, because putting maximum heat on authorities demands an absolute flood of public attention focused firmly on locating Nancy. Drop a quick follow, circulate our deep dive, and sound off below with personal theories regarding whatever explosive secrets detectives pulled out of that recovered mobile device. From day one, your combined brainpower has completely steered our reporting, and those vital community insights remain absolutely crucial today. Today's details come straight from publicly verified journalism outlets like News Nation, Newsweek, BCCBS, News, NPR, TMZ, plus Brian Entin Investigates. Quotes linked to professionals like Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, C.C. Moore, Kurt Dabb, Joe Giacalone, Maureen O'Connell, or Bob Kiger purely represent their previously published and accessible public remarks. Whenever specific details trace back to just one origin point, we noted it carefully, while any logical theories built upon proven clues got clearly highlighted as mere assumptions through both our voiceover and visual on-screen pop-ups. Our reporting team possesses zero back-channel clearance to review locked police files, hidden detective summaries, or any classified physical proof. Nothing explored here serves as an official declaration regarding final police verdicts or ultimate legal wrap-ups. We are definitely not officially pointing fingers at any specific villain regarding Nancy going missing, so please route actual case updates directly to the Pima County Sheriff or the local federal branch in Tucson. In a world filled with noise, one quiet truth still matters. Every life leaves a trace, and every missing person deserves to be searched for with dignity, urgency, and love. The story above reminds us that technology is not just cold machinery. A phone, a camera, a signal, a missed alert. These can become the silent witnesses for someone who no longer has a voice. That is a powerful lesson for our time. But beyond the data, there is something even more human. An elderly woman vanished, and what remained behind was not only evidence, but a painful reminder that no person should ever become invisible. We must care more deeply for the elderly, check on them more often, and refuse to treat their disappearances as ordinary headlines that fade away. This is the true educational message. Compassion and responsibility must walk hand in hand with innovation. Technology can help uncover facts, but only human empathy gives those facts meaning. When a community chooses to pay attention, ask questions, and protect its most vulnerable members, it becomes stronger, kinder, and more just. Sometimes the smallest signal can carry the biggest cry for help. We must learn to listen before silence becomes permanent.